Welcome back to another edition of the Football Fun Days Special Fantasy Premier League edition. And if you can see, I am smiling much more than Kern is because I, in the end, had a great game week. I feared Wadi giving me a nice bright red arrow in my rankings, but luckily Justin and Charlie Taylor, my budget defenders from game week 1, have saved me yet again. It was an interesting game week, Kern, and we'll get into it obviously when we look at your team first. But to everyone who's tuning in, we will be giving you our differentials, captain picks, transfer tips for this game week, and our overall transfer strategy for the coming few game weeks. Also, let's not forget that this episode is now being shot right now on Monday night, 10:30 IST. The deadline is 10 p.m. Indian Standard Time on Tuesday. The festive season games are finally at us, and I don't know about the players if they're ready or not, but I know the fans are, and so is all us FPL managers, right, Con? So tell me how your game week was before I pull your team up. What were the hopes and dreams, and what finally happened?
You know how they say, right? Like when players lose a big game, they just want to get on quickly to the next week. So I'm just glad that this game week is coming in quick because uh, just about average, I think. I think average was 51. I got 52 or something like that. Green arrow, but first green arrow after 8 game weeks. So it's okay. Had to
You mean Red Arrow?
red arrow. Red arrow, first red arrow after 8 game weeks. So I guess it was bound to happen at some point. Not too bad a drop. Not having Son, Kane, Vardy, Justin, hurt me. But I didn't go through with my transfers that I initially planned. I actually went from Ziyech to Jota, from one injured player to another. For some reason, I thought it might be a gamble worth
Wait,
taking.
I did the same thing. So before you go ahead, you know what? I'm going to pull up your team now so that everyone has a visual representation in their mind. Yeah, so this is essentially what your team is for this game week, the coming game week. But essentially, you already made your transfers. So if you can just take the managers firstly to the transfer you already made for game week 13, and then you can tell them why and what, obviously.
Yeah, so I was actually initially going to go Ziyech to Son and Calvert-Lewin to Wilson and take a -4. For some reason, I just held back on that and it saved me. Son just got the assist. Wilson didn't get anything, whereas Calvert-Lewin got returns. So that worked out well. And I just want to take a break. How did Son get an assist for that, and how did Kane get a? It's so annoying. It is so annoying when you don't have them in your team and you see them getting points like that. It should not be fair. Anyway, I thought I'll go Ziyech to Jota for this week, double up on Liverpool against Fulham, and then go Jota to Mahrez and double up City against West Brom. So my Jota to Mahrez change was done as soon as the Manchester derby was over. Mahrez got pulled off at 60 minutes. That nil-nil means that I'm sure City will want to win the next one with ease. I think Mahrez should start. Obviously, it's Pep Roulette. You can never say, but he probably start Foden, Bernardo Silva, and Ferran Torres for all we know, right? But hopefully Mahrez starts. It's a gamble I'm willing to take. So my change is sort of only for this week, and once that is done, I'm going to take the next couple of days and figure out once the fixture swing comes in after that with it clearing up a bit for multiple teams, how I want to go ahead.
Okay, and before I move on to my team, so you just used essentially the one free transfer for this game week. Like you said, good quick turnaround time. Mahrez did come off, so it should be a wise pick. For everyone wondering, we will be going into our budget midfielders and other midfield suggestions later on in this episode. After we've done looking at my team and just my quick possible transfer moves for this week. So let me switch to my team now, Con.
Along with Jota replacements.
Indeed. Right, so this is my team, and before I go ahead, I want to remind everybody who is tuning in, thank you so much for watching all episodes so far. We had a good jump in subscriber base, so we're very grateful for that. So don't forget, to the new viewers tuning in, hit subscribe on the channel, turn on the bell icon so you know when our new videos are out. Hit us up on Instagram and Twitter as well, and in the comment section, we're happy to engage with you in conversation whenever we possibly can, which is pretty much all the time because we love football that much. So this is what my team looks like. And obviously, I didn't pull the trigger on Jota. So possibly the worst transfer I could have ever made, right? Ziyech out for Jota, injured to injured. Lost 0.1 already, possibly 0.2 till I make the move. Hopefully not. But quickly coming into this game week, my transfer options are obviously taking out Jota. So either I'll have to take a -4 again, right? Unless I do a budget pick. So my option one is taking out the likes of Jota and Salah for KDB and Grealish, and target KDB for the West Brom game. Small risk, obviously, is that if Pep decides to do Roulette and start KDB off the bench since he played the full 90 minutes along with Sterling. So that would be KDB there and Grealish in for the likes of Jota to balance that out. A second option I would consider is keeping it simple. Would either be just taking out Jota for the likes of Bowen, Souček, even maybe consider an outside chance of a Leeds midfielder, maybe looking at the likes of Rafinha, and keeping that money in the bank and keeping a -4 for the coming game week, where I could then get in the likes of KDB or maybe get in the likes of Sterling back then in that game week. My only worry about maybe that second option is that I'm very uncomfortable with having Salah, Son, and Kane still in the same team. And logic has dictated taking out the Spurs players in so many games that I've not done it. I don't think I'm going to take out one of them for this game week either, right? Kern already said how that was an assist and how that goal went in. And Guaita became super keeper after that. So it's just one of those things, I think, when the form is going in your favor, till they don't hit rock bottom and then some, don't take them out, right? Yeah. So yeah, ideally, I will be going for -4 again. Unfortunately, not ideal, but the Jota move just didn't pan out, right? So Jota and Salah would probably go out for KDB and Grealish as of now. And now what we'll do is we will move into our general team discussion, and we'll do that by normally how we start off with position-wise changes and recommendations. Yeah, so Kern, let's start with defense. And we'll obviously do defense in terms of targeting fixtures, right? And we spoke about Liverpool. So let's start with Liverpool and then move on to Man City. Man City defense has been doing good, but Liverpool defenders are the ones who are coming back. The main target has been Trent. So we spoke about it last week as well. We said hold on one game week, right? You would expect them to keep a clean sheet against Fulham, but they didn't. They're coming up against Tottenham, obviously. Tough fixture this game week. Matip might have a niggle as well, so they could be, again, with an inexperienced centre-back over there. But is it still worth getting in a small lead on taking a hit on getting Robertson or Trent into your side and restructuring your midfield a bit by downgrading your other midfielders to your Bowens and your Rafinhas and your Součeks? There is leeway to do that, right? Technically, if you have Chilwell, move Chilwell on to Trent or Robertson, because the fixtures after Tottenham are too tempting for Liverpool.
Yeah, maybe after this week. I wouldn't say right now. Honestly, like ahead of the weekend, before this weekend's fixtures were played, when I was trying to look at both back-to-back game weeks and how that would pan out, I was thinking Liverpool versus Spurs was poised to be a 0-0, right? They would both get easy points now. Midweek, they could both be like, okay, you know what? Happy to sort of play out a 0-0, like the Manchester derby, neither of them wanting to lose, a little tighter at the back, seeing how they've been and stuff like that. But now with both of them having dropped points against teams where they wouldn't have wanted to, and the chasing pack getting a lot closer, I think there might be some goals in this. I'm not seeing defensive assets, but if you are looking to capitalize on your Liverpool defensive assets, I would say Robertson over Trent Alexander-Arnold, just because of fitness. I think Trent will substitute this game as well. Robertson is still getting into the better attacking positions, as we saw at the start of the season, even before Trent got injured. So if you are looking at those two, Trent over Robertson, but not necessarily this week with Kane and Son scoring from, as lucky goals as it gets, or the randomest of positions.
See, let's not forget it's a clash between the top two in the Premier League currently, and Liverpool do have, under Klopp, say what you want with the injuries that have been stacking up against them, they have showed their mettle in most of these games. So I would not be surprised if, looking at the fact that Jota will be missing, the front three of Mane, Firmino and Salah might just turn up, right? But yeah, maybe this game week again is not something to consider, unless of course you have a sort of set midfield where you've got your KDB, Salah, Bruno, Son or Grealish. Your attack is sorted and you want to only make defensive picks. Then maybe moving on a Chilwell to Robertson this week onwards could work out in the long run. Otherwise, Chelsea haven't done much wrong, right? So maybe to downgrade Chilwell to Zuma or Reece James, then maybe going to a Liverpool asset for this week would still make more sense to make room for midfielders, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Plus, as we're going to get on, the premium price, we might now finally look at investing in forwards with that money in that first or third forward, depending on how your team is set up. So yeah, hold off on that premium spend on Liverpool still, because that money might be better invested elsewhere. It's not like Robertson and Trent are getting clean sheets and attacking returns week in, week out, whereas you are getting some of that from cheaper options. So why spend that extra money, right? As of now, hold is my view.
Yeah, so not talking about moving on defenders and investing in the ones who are going to guarantee give you clean sheets, who've been improving. Let's move on to the Man City defense there, right? Cancelo was the talk of the town for a while. He missed only one game against Burnley, though. He started the last two games. 2 clean sheets for him. He's at 5.5. Ruben Dias price got up to 5.6, 3 clean sheets in a row. After he missed the Tottenham game, I think merit City defense investment because it's West Brom home, Southampton away, Newcastle home, Everton away. Decent fixtures coming up. And again, that would be instead of moving assets from Chilwell 6.2 to Reece James or Zuma. And yes, Chelsea haven't done bad defensively. It was an unlucky game against Everton, I think. But City are looking really, really good. Like very sturdy in the back suddenly.
Yeah, they. I think in all competitions now they have 7 clean sheets in a row, if I'm not mistaken, which is a club record. They're looking solid at the back. The problem is, who do you take, right? Who does? I mean, I think Kyle Walker is probably the only one who starts week in, week out, but he's quite expensive as well.
Even Stones has played the last 3
Stones
games.
has played the last 3 games, but then now with Laporte fit again, you never know when Pep Roulette is going to come in, and even though he said that Stones is playing well, there's no reason for me to remove him. He might side rest and just sort of, bring him off, bring Laporte and Ruben Dias. So that's the problem. Cancelo and Mendy at left back, that rotation is happening. So problem with City defensive assets, yes, great to have in your team, but you just don't know who to have. And if there was clarity on that, I'd be jumping in on it as well. The fixtures are phenomenal. Only one big, fixture that sort of brings up a question mark up until like game week 23, where they face Liverpool. Till then, only Chelsea away is one which is a little worrying. Apart from that, greens everywhere.
So I think, if you had to ask me, I think I would still maybe, if you want to make that risky move or that change, I think Ruben Dias would still be more nailed on, right? Because he's the big signing of the season. He's come in and given the solidity, right? He's actually been the marshalling of the defense from the back. So I think unless there's a big concern, he probably will be the one who start all their games. Again, at 5.6, not the most expensive if you're comparing to the likes of Reguilon, who's also 5.6, the one in your team. Chilwell, if you're downgrading him for this move, right? And if you still have Robertson and Trent, this switch could also probably work out for you. He's owned by less than 4% of the managers. But like Kern said, with Pep Roulette, it's not just about the midfielders or the strike force. No one is safe. No player in that team is safe.
Yeah. So and with Ruben Dias, he's not even a goal-scoring asset. Right? Like if it was for, say, Cancelo, I get spending that extra money.
Laporte is known to be in the box to get the headers. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Ruben Dias not necessarily scores. And again, you never know if he just says, I'm going to put Stones and Laporte in for a game or two. 5.6 non-attacking scores from him. Not very enticing, unfortunately, especially with the other options that we've discussed. Reece James is available, who's starting now as well. So, yeah. No
okay, moving on to then the cheaper defensive units again. Let's look at...
We could do Edison. I mean, sorry, if anyone wants a nailed-on person in City defense, if you're looking at a premium keeper, then Edison is the one to have. Clean run of fixtures, except for one. Chelsea themselves aren't very free scoring anyway, so at least currently, not a bad one if you want to go for Edison.
Fair enough. A keeper move ideally is again when your whole team is sorted, your money in the bank. You luckily got a sorted enough team for the coming game weeks. Could be worth a move. Ideally, something I would look at when I'm wildcarding. But yeah, if you have no other moves to make, why not, right? Because like Kern said, that's guaranteed. Moving on to defensive picks who are more of the budget range, right? Let's look at West Ham and Aston Villa again. And we'll quickly go through this because we did discuss it in the last episode as well. But again, Kern, Okay, Cresswell is not really the cheap option, but still at 5.2, right? Slightly cheaper than the others. Crystal Palace home next fixture, the coming fixture for this game week. Chelsea, the tough one. But then there's Brighton, Southampton, Everton, West Brom, Burnley, Crystal Palace. A good run again. You have Soufal as well, 4.6, 2.5% owned. Two good assets to consider in your defense, right? If you are, look, Justin has delivered already, and we've been waiting for Justin to be pulled out because, Castagne will be back, Pereira will be back. They're not back yet. He looks like he's nailed into this side the way he's been playing. But if you want to move on other defenders, if you have the Kilmans, you have Wolves defense in your team still, maybe Leeds defenders, because yes, Dallas, Ailing, they give those threats, right? Like you saw last week, they're just not getting you enough. West Ham assets, and then maybe Villa will move on to that. Better set, right?
Yeah, Cresswell is giving great attacking returns. West Ham are playing really well. Soufal could have easily had an assist or two as well. Both of them do take set pieces, so having one of those two definitely seems like a good option. The Cresswell obviously the better option, and that shows in his price as well, right? I don't think it's a very bad pick to go for in defense. Good fixture list as you've already covered. So yeah, one of Cresswell or Soufal, I think, is a nice one to have in your team. And West Ham are playing well.
And now moving on to Aston Villa, and then we can move on to mid after that. To everyone who stuck with Martinez in their team, didn't switch him out, well done. 11 solid points. Great haul, had a very good game. Credit to him to keep Villa in it in the middle. Yeah, I also want to give a shout out before we move on to midfield to Nick Pope. Burnley started off so poorly this season, and we were considering and contemplating Pope a few times in our earlier episodes, right? And we spoke about how 5.5 is expensive. He dropped to 5.4. Fabianski is the top scoring keeper at 58 points. Nick Pope's already at 53. And you have to understand the kind of bad fixture run they were on. They were bottom at one point. But Nick Pope has had, I think, the most bonus points in the FPL so far, I think, as a keeper.
Oh.
11 points in the last game week as well. He's got two other massive hauls previously. He's got 9, 10, and 11 actually. So 4 big hauls this season already. Nick Pope is, I think, keeping Burnley in check. And with their defense coming back, their defenders will be someone to look at. I have Charlie Taylor in my team, and he's someone who rescued me this game week, right? So Burnley play Villa, Wolves, Leeds, Sheffield, Fulham. Toughish run in terms of Leeds, Wolves do bother me against the kind of football Burnley play, but worth considering keeping a back eye on the Burnley defense as well. Maybe one more game week goes, and then you could consider it seriously. And then obviously Nick Pope comes into contention. An eye on that. Kern, take us to the midfield. Obviously, let's start with Jota.
Yeah, Jota is obviously a big one because he was supposed to be the into the Liverpool midfield, while you put your money into everyone else. But now that he's out, it's obviously clear cut that you have to own Salah. He did absolutely nothing almost against Fulham, but then got the penalty and rewarded
almost missed it.
Everyone almost missed it. But then everyone who sort of, came in on hoping for a Salah massive haul this week versus Fulham were sort of rewarded. So Salah, I think you need to have in your teams. Yes, this week is Spurs, but after that, the fixture run is a good one. So you bring him in for that. If you look at direct Jota replacements, then Zaha is the one obviously to look at. Crystal Palace have been scoring quite a bit now, and I know both of us have said at points, Zaha is not very exciting, but hey, the numbers say what they do. He looks good. He looks like a good Jota replacement. And what we can also otherwise do is, you obviously have the likes of De Bruyne, Bruno, and Son, who are still sort of must-haves in your team. Even though I'm still not convinced by Son's numbers in the recent run, but is what it is.
I mean, look at it this way. Zaha has 7 goals and 3 assists. Son has 10 goals and 4 assists. In terms of assists, there's a difference of 3 goal difference. Zaha missed 2 games, though, in between. I think Son has started all his games. Not all that far behind. It's just that, we will talk about Son and Kane later in a bit. But like Kern was going on to, right? The problem is, it's like if you don't have one of Son or Kane or you don't have the other, you seem to lose rank anyway. So it's like either you take them as a bundle package or you move on to all other possible premiums and cover your team, right, Kern? Because even if you have one of them, it just doesn't seem to work out.
Yeah, that's the thing. So, which is why I was, I was going to go and suggest you uh, go down on that Jota thing right now. We've been saying going up on midfield, but you might as well then go a notch down and invest that into the forwards because Vardy and Kane are just continuously firing and they are must-haves right now, sort of in terms of what is hurting people's ranks. Vardy 2 weeks, 3 weeks in a row. Both of us have been going to the game week just like everything cross, don't perform, don't perform, don't perform, and then he gets something.
Yeah.
And he pulls something out, right?
So Kern, so then let's emphasize more on the budget midfielders you were talking about. Yeah. So if I look at the West Ham duo, there's Souček and Bowen. Souček by default value for the price has been one of the better midfielders, obviously in the season so far. He's at 5.0. Bowen has a price rise over the night, so he's at 6.4. Bowen, though, if once Antonio comes back, might be more involved in more goals with the way Antonio plays and how West Ham play when he's in the team compared to Haller. So it's a tough one there. I think if you're balancing out the team, like you said, with your forward, Souček would be the better pick because he saves you a good 1.4 million in the bank for that. We're looking beyond West Ham and their fixtures. You do have the duo of Kilch and Rafinha from Leeds United. Now, yes, we've spoken about Leeds a lot. They do look a little tired in the second half of games, right? Kern, they seem they run out of steam for the kind of football they play. They play Newcastle at home the next game, then United away, Burnley home, West Brom away, Tottenham. So mixed bag. But if you look at the midfielders and their pricing, it's a little hard to ignore again, right? Because Rafinha seems to be starting more games, 5.4. Glitch had a good game last week. He took the penalty, right? So 5.5. Good pricing, saving you the million in the bank, helps you round off a better midfield, a better forward line, like Kern said, considering the likes of Danny Ings as well. If I had to pick between the two teams, I would still probably look at Souček even over the likes of Rafinha. Kern, what about you?
I'm looking at a more explosive option. See, Souček is getting the returns, right? Third Fundit, Abhishek's done really well having Souček in his team. That's helped him keep up and move up the ranks. So Souček is getting you returns. I'm just sort of more of a mentality of having a more attacking midfielder. So in that sense, Rafinha excites me more because he's getting off a lot of shots in the box. I think he's one of the highest in the last couple of game weeks for shots in the box. So he's getting there. So I think he's an exciting option to look at in that sense. Bowen, similar. So, whichever way you want to go, if you have Bamford and you don't want to double up on Leeds, then Bowen is the exciting one who's overdue getting some points return because of his attacking prowess. So Rafinha and Bowen are the ones that appeal to me in that sense. But if you want to go for ones who are getting the points already and are cheaper, then obviously you have Souček, who's basically David Moyes' Fellaini.
Yeah.
So he's going to put him there everywhere, and they're scoring well off set pieces. So he's not a very bad option, especially priced at 5.
Yeah.
He's a good option to look at as well.
All right. Fair enough. You already spoke about the heavy premium midfielders earlier. And, just to cap it off so that we can then link it up again to our strikers topic, we look at Son, right, Kern? We've discussed your problems with your Spurs assets and about how I told you that, if you don't link them up together, they don't seem to give you much, but together they get you just about enough, right? Because that's how they've been playing all season. They assist each other's goals, and it's the kind of two-man team that they are so far. Now that fixtures turn again. So it's Liverpool, Leicester, Wolves. Next 3 are the easiest games ideally for them to score, right? Leicester, maybe with the way Leicester defending, you could just see Kane and Son a little more getting a little more leeway in that game. But we don't know how they'll rotate the squad because Mourinho is going to want to rest players too. Would you think it's more merit to take out Son and still make sure you have the likes of Bruno, Salah and KDB? That should be a holy trinity right there, right? Not Son and Kane. Or do you think Son, Kane, Bruno, Salah had the edge over even KDB right now, looking at the way City are still not attacking at, not at full blast the way they usually do?
I think this is something that we discuss every single week. So I'm going to try and just put it short, or anyone can go to any of our last videos and see this again.
Yeah, we do talk about, but it's, it's for the benefit of the new viewers every time. So we compress it by
It is, yeah.
by 30 seconds every episode. We started this with a 5-minute discussion, like 5 game weeks back, and now it's down to like 1 minute. Hopefully.
Yeah. So the thing here is, it's you have Son and Kane. It does. Why would you remove them? Because they're giving you returns week in, week out. If you look at it objectively, it makes sense to remove Son. I remember sending you this message, and I just put a Son has 4 goals and 3 assists now in his last 8 games, which sounds great. But if you compare that to someone like a Bruno, he has 5 goals and 4 assists in that time. Jota has the same number of goals with 2 fewer starts. Now 3 fewer starts with him injured, right? Grealish has better numbers as well. Someone of the likes of DCL has better numbers. So there are so many people giving better numbers. It's just that Son is so highly owned, not having him hurts you. That's the only thing with Son. And after his big return against United, it has sort of dipped consistently since then. The assist this week again should not have been. So I just think that's sort of coming, somewhere where the law of averages catch up with him, and Kane for that matter. But Kane just still has some, there's something extra. He gets those bonus points. He's getting you somewhere, those extra things, whereas Son isn't. So I'm thinking, especially looking at, say, KDB having West Brom, Bruno having Sheffield away, and after this week, Liverpool having a good run of fixtures, those 3 over Son is still the one for me. But that's just me not having Son. I guess I'm trying to convince myself.
For me, I don't think I'll be taking either of them out this week. But I also, and I mean this week, I know it's Monday night, so for game week 13. But I also see myself on the outside chance of using my wild card, only because I still have such a lack of squad balance and lack of bench players, because I played with only 10 players last week, right? I have Mitchell, Stephens, Jota in my team right now not playing, Kilman not being in the loop last couple of games. So I might have to kind of do a sly wildcard to fix a couple of changes. Let's see if I do that. Very unlikely though. Now moving on to the second part of this, and Kane, and let's move on to our strikers and link this up to Vardy. Talking about the way they've been performing, right? You spoke about Harry Kane as well. Now Kane has got a goal in his last game, a goal and assist in the game before that against Arsenal, a blank against Chelsea, assist against City, assist, I think, against a goal against West Brom, goal against Brighton. He's not getting you those hat tricks either, but he's chugging along at those bonus points, 8 points, 9 points, 6 points. Do you think still it'll serve you better to have Vardy and Kane in your side, or you can take Vardy in now while you still can save those 0.6, 0.7 in the bank and use that towards the midfield?
It is very interesting because having Vardy and Kane both means your midfield is sort of, then you can't have all Salah, Bruno, KDB, Vardy, Kane. Having 5 of those will mean 2 very budget midfielders and then no third striker, right, like a Brewster or something.
Right.
It's difficult, and the only reason Kane is a pick ahead of Vardy is just because of his ownership. So each week, as he said, right, he's not getting the massive hauls, but those 8-9, when you don't have him and the rest of the world does, it hurts you. It hurts your ranking. So it depends on where you stand. If you're looking to hold or consolidate or sort of midway, then you get Kane in and sort of keep up with the pack there. And then you make up on the grounds on some of the other picks, because midfield, no one can have all of them. So there are bound to be some differences in midfield. Whereas if you're looking to make up rank completely, I think Vardy right now, he's getting those explosive returns. 13-8 in the last 2. Okay, 5-4 before that, but then 14 before that. It is just how Vardy is. He gets explosive returns. The only thing though, again, is fixtures aren't that great. Everton, Tottenham, United, the next 3. And Vardy is known to be someone who sort of goes missing in big games. At least is what's been haunting him or his reputation these years. So that's another one that's sort of an asterisk on Vardy. So Kane over him, but he's getting the goals as well. If anyone's scoring from Leicester, it's primarily him. So unfortunately, I don't have answers yet, which is why I'm like sort of seeing it out this week, and we'll have a clearer picture. Hopefully, after that, couple of more days to think on the ones, and you also have then a clearer picture on the double game weeks coming through, injuries, what's going to be December going to look like for a lot of teams.
Yeah.
As of now, hold on either or both. Like don't make any rash changes is what I'd say.
Yep, fair enough. Let's move on to our other set of the strikers like we did in the last episode. You then have your other options, right? You have Bamford, Wilson, who play each other this game week, and Danny Ings and Che Adams. Watkins is also under consideration, but he's just not been doing enough, right? Although he does deserve an outside mention because his fixture is great, like his Grealish, and their defensive assets and Martinez. So I'm not saying do not consider Watkins, but Bamford is offering so much in terms of the number of chances he gets per game. Wilson didn't do too well last game week, but again has a good couple of fixtures coming up to get in those goals. So if you had to reshape your striking first, right, Kern? Calvert-Lewin got an assist last week. Leicester, Arsenal and Sheffield and City coming up though. So again, mixed bag of games that they have. Would you still, firstly hold on to the likes of DCL, or these cheap options and the return of Danny Ings is too tempting for you to not move things around
now? Yeah, DCL I'm going to hold. We thought he's going to blank against Chelsea as well. He got the assist for the penalty. Some of us are hoping he might somehow take the penalty as well. That would have been great. But I'm going to hold on because the fixtures aren't too bad. And the returns are there. Leicester away, as we said, not the tightest, in such games. Arsenal obviously are just in a spiral right now, so that's anybody's pick. And then Sheffield United, which is a great pick, right? So I think the next three fixtures are looking good. If you take him out and want to bring him back for the Sheffield United game, then you're losing out on precious value because his value just risen. So you'll lose out on at least 0.3, 0.4 there, depending on where you've got him in. DCL is a hold for me. The ones that you could look at for the next 2-3 weeks is Callum Wilson. The only reason I didn't bring him in again was I wasn't sure about who's fit for Newcastle, who's not, but he's fit. His pictures look great. At least for the next 2 games, it's Leeds away who aren't really keeping clean sheets, and then Fulham at home, again, a fixture you target. But then after that, it's City, Liverpool, Leicester. So Callum Wilson is again only for 2 weeks. So I think with the forwards there, with the budget pick forward, you're going to have to, outside of a DCL who I can sort of keep because he's getting returns, you might have to keep tinkering depending on the game week in and out. And because they're at that price point, I think it's fine to do that because they're not the kinds you're looking at for double-digit returns every week.
Right.
You can take 1 week down if they get you the next week back. So Che Adams, another good one in there. If you're looking at a budget pick.
Yeah, Che Adams and even Danny Ings, I know it's a little expensive at 8. He's kind of more of an option if you consider getting rid of DCL, or if you take out the likes of Harry Kane, update of midfield, and you want to get in Ings because he's starting again, right? Tough 2 fixtures coming up for them though. It's Arsenal and City after that, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. But Southampton are in good form. You never know what can happen over there. But yeah, that is our position-wise wrap-up. Let's look at our differential picks for this coming game week 13. It was a little tough one for me again. I'm not going to lie. And I know I said Bowen last week. And I'm looking at all the possible structures and permutations and and changes. I think Bowen again is a good differential to have this week. I just think the price value he offers, especially with the Jota situation, I don't think I would look beyond him for this week either.
Yeah, I think Bowen's a great pick. I'm going to look at Rafinha. He's under 1% owned. I think he's due a goal. So Rafinha just looks exciting to me for this week.
And we've already gone over the fixtures for Leeds United, so I don't think we need to go back into that. They do have an attacking threat. Rafinha has a starting lineup. He's linking up well with Bamford, so hopefully those returns are there over there. Now looking at our captain picks. This is a tough one, Kern. Look, I have Salah in my team, but I'm most likely getting KDB. So if I get in KDB and then I have Fernandes, it's a coin toss for me. I can't split them. But just because it's it's an away game, I think I'll give it to Bruno.
Yeah, currently my captain is De Bruyne as well, and like both of them are standout picks for captains, regardless of who you have in your team this week, right? Doesn't matter if you have Salah and De Bruyne and Bruno, as I do. Bruno and KDB are the standout picks for this week. I might just go Bruno. Sheffield
Yeah,
United do look the weakest squad right now in the Premier League. Uh, United will look to bounce back from the performance, and Bruno is in the middle of absolutely everything. KDB could get rested, could get hooked off at 60 minutes, but if United aren't scoring, uh, then Bruno will be there amongst the goals, right?
100%.
Just because of all of that, Bruno over KDB for me. Having said that, Bruno has been rested in the past when the fixtures have piled up and Van der Beek was there, but he had to come back on and get the gear kicking. I don't think a risk is there to be taken right now, especially with what happened in the Champions League. Fans not very happy with the nil-nil with the derby. I think Bruno is going to be a great pick this week. I think there's returns there. Even though on paper everyone KDB at home, West Brom, go for it. Heart just somewhere there is going. Take a punt on Bruno.
Okay, and quickly wrapping up, differential captains for me would be either one of Calvert-Lewin or Jamie Vardy. They play each other. I think both defenses in this game might have a goal or two in them to concede, and who to look beyond than at Vardy and Calvert-Lewin. Got any other differential captain for you?
Mahrez.
Interesting.
Mahrez,
Yeah.
why not? Any City asset, could be a good shout. You never know.
All right, that is the wrap up of this episode. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. We hope you have a game week like the one I did in the end of it, and maybe our other funded Abhishek, not so much as what Kern had. Don't forget to hit subscribe on our channel, turn on your notifications, follow us on Instagram and on Twitter. Hit us up in the comments. We're happy to get back to you and engage with you in a good conversation about some Fantasy Premier League. And we'll see you in the next episode, which will be in just a couple of times time for game week 14. Best of luck for this game week. Cheers, everyone.
Best of luck, guys.